affecting people in real time. The children are hungry, okay? They have no parent anymore, and so on and so forth. So I needed to do something to abate the consequences of my sins, to abate the evil waves. Okay? So what do I need to do? I need to do prayer, which is called the works of piety. Prayer, penance, and works of charity, works of love. Now, these are the works, okay, that abate the evil consequences of our sinfulness. If I don't, this is what we call to fully amend for the evil consequences of our sins. If I don't fully amend for the evil consequences of my sins, okay, that's what we call temporal punishment, okay, current temporal punishment, I will go to purgatory to be cleansed of this punishment. Okay? So that's why we need, you can't say that I went to confession, therefore I don't need to pray or to do penance or to do works of charity. Because I don't know how much my sins have affected others. Even the sins I have confessed. Okay? So I needed to abate the evil consequences of my sins. So this is what we call incurring temporal punishment. So every sin, mortal sin incurs eternal punishment, but all other sins, they can incur what we call temporal punishment, the evil consequences of our sins, especially the sins of scandal. Okay? Scandal, when others are led to sin because of my sin. Okay, so those are very heavy evil effects. That's why all sin is sin, but sin which has the aspect of scandal is more grave because it has the capacity to lead others into sin. It's like a chain. That's why we must avoid scandalous acts to scandalize others. Okay? So, if I don't do this here, I will do it in purgatory. Okay? So we can't absolve ourselves from prayer or penance or charity because I went to confession. No, because our sins incur temporal punishment and those evil consequences affect others, so we need to do something about that. Now there is a way, okay? So this shows the need for the so-called works which Luther rejects. Because you cannot say that I killed someone, but I have confident belief that God is going to forgive me, and I'm forgiven of eternal punishment and a temporal punishment. But your children can go hungry. I don't care. Because I confidently believe that God has forgiven me. So I don't need to do mortification to deny myself that the children may eat. Okay? I don't need prayer, I don't need whatever, because I confidently believe that God has forgiven me. You know, that's crazy. My confident believing that I have been forgiven is not going to heal the evil effects of my sinfulness. And I am responsible for my sins, therefore I must be fully ready to abate the evil consequences of my sins. That's the essence of what we call punishment or penance in the confessional. But it's properly understood as something to rectify. Okay? So people ask, Father, what is my punishment? What is my punishment? But we call it properly reparation. I have to repair the damage caused by my sins. Okay? Reparation. So we must repair the damage caused by our sins. We can't simply say, I confidently believe. If we don't repair for the damage caused by our sins, which incurs this punishment, we will do it in purgatory. Now there is a way, okay, the church can assist us, okay, to remit temporal punishment. The confession, eternal punishment and guilt is remitted, but not temporal punishment. Okay? So, but there is a way the church can remit temporal punishment due to sin, the sins that have already been forgiven, confessed. And that's what we call indulgences. Again, some priests read a few indulgences. the religious indulgences. But indulgences can remit temporal punishment. It can be a full indulgence, as I told you before. If a person is dying, they can receive a full plenary indulgence, which remits all temporal punishment, okay, if they are well disposed. And so they will not go to purgatory. The church has the power to do that. The priest has the power to do that. Okay?
When they say that plenary indulgence removes the temporal punishment due to mortal sin that has been confessed.
Yes.
One mortal sin, not
all mortal sins. Remember that when we go to confession, okay, our contrition must be universal. Okay, that is the term we use in theology, universal, meaning that it covers all mortal sins. Okay, the ones I confess, whether they are a million mortal sins, okay, even if I committed 1,002 mortal sins, but I forget the other two, okay? But my contrition was universal. Even those two are forgiven. I forgot to confess. But if I have 1,001 mortal sins and I confess 1,000 and deliberately hide the other one, I'm not forgiven of any. Because I'm not contrite, because my contrition is not universal.
Well, I'm talking about the temporal punishment due to a mortal sin that has been forgiven in purgatory. When you go for specifically for a plenary indulgence, be it whatever any of the indulgences that they have listed.
An indulgence is plenary, meaning plenus, okay, full from Latin, okay? It remits all temporal punishment, all of it, if it is plenary, partial some of it. Okay? But if it is a full indulgence and the person has fulfilled the conditions to receive it, all temporal punishment is removed.
I thought it was a plenary indulgence. I thought that was for one sin, etc. Not for all.
Once it is a plenary indulgence, okay? Because that's why it's preceded by a good confession, which contrition is universal, and therefore the remission is also universal. Okay, so there Luther was wrong, even from just the point of view of common sense, okay? That my going to confession doesn't take away the evil effects of my sin. So we need mortification, we need penance. That's why Jesus tells us, take up your cross every day and follow my way of mortification, my way of penance, suffering. Okay, then he continues, the hierarchy and the priesthood are not divinely instituted or necessary, and the ceremonial or exterior worship is not essential or useful. Okay? So, some of you who come to Sunday Mass, you're just wasting your time. You have little to do. You have nothing important to do. Because exterior worship is not essential or useful. So that's why I told you that the study of St. Augustine is very important, because Augustine, in fighting all these heresies during his time, he always went back to the basics, the deposit of faith, what the church believes. Now just imagine Luther saying that, let's first leave the priesthood for a moment, but look, and ceremonial or exterior worship is not essential or useful. We hear right from the very beginning of the Christian faith in the Acts of the Apostles. What did the disciples do? The early disciples. They would gather on the first day of the week, or the eighth day, the day of the resurrection, and do what? Break bread, which we call the Eucharist or Mass, from the very beginning. They are worshipping as a community, because Christ has founded them as a community of believers, church. That concept is from the Old Testament, kahal, okay? They call it kahal, the church, the people of God. Okay? So Christ founded them as God founded Israel, not as particular individuals, but as a nation that belongs to Him. Okay? So when Jesus Christ comes and founds the church, it is the new nation, the new Israel. And they worship God as a nation, as a community, as church. And Luther says we don't need it. We don't need that kind of worship. That's why I told you about the Protestant influence in the Catholic Church. You know many Catholics who tell you, I'm a good Catholic and I'm a good one. My faith is strong, but I don't need to go to church. These are the seeds of that kind of thinking. I don't need to go to church. So that's basically was wrong because we worship like that. So the hierarchy and the priesthood are not divinely instituted or necessary. Let's begin with necessity. He says it's not necessary. So what do we do? Remember, he is going to say, when you come together as a church and if you want to worship, you can any one of us can preside over whatever we want to do, or we call it the Eucharist or whatever. Any one of us can preside because the hierarchical priesthood is not essential, it's not necessary. Why did he say that? Why did he reject the priesthood? Why did Luther reject the priesthood? I know that's why you notice that a Catholic priest cannot concelebrate with a Protestant minister. Why? Even if a Protestant minister calls himself the Pope or Bishop or Apostle, whatever they call themselves. Why? Because they don't have the priesthood. So we cannot have them. They don't have the priesthood, therefore we cannot concelebrate with them. But why did Luther reject the priesthood? What does a priest do? Priest offers sacrifice. See? So you need a priest for sacrifice. Okay? But if there is no sacrifice to offer, therefore you don't need the priesthood. So with Luther, reading the Bible, from the institution narratives, we find it in the Gospels, he said that in Latin, in Hebrew, the word for covenant is berith. That's the word for covenant. So in Latin, the word for covenant was that's why you hear most of the time you say the Old Testament and the New Testament, but it's properly the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. That's the proper name, for these things. But the Testament, you get it from Latin, Testament. So Luther didn't know Hebrew, he didn't realize that the Greek translation from which the Latin came basically was translating this word. But in Latin, this word testamentum had two meanings. And the original meaning was will. That's will, the will. That's what it meant ordinarily. That to be quick, a will. So he said, when Jesus says, do this, whatever, this is the blood of the covenant, so meaning this is the blood of the testamentum. So Jesus was not telling the apostles to offer sacrifice, he was just giving them his last will. That's how Luther understood it, because the word testamentum in Latin ordinarily meant will. But it also had another meaning, it meant also covenant. And that is what the Latin was translating. It wasn't translating will, because it's very clear from the Hebrew or from the Greek that the Greek was translating this word for covenant, which we find in Exodus chapter 24, and Jesus uses it when he institutes the Eucharist. So, according to Luther's understanding, because he didn't know Hebrew, whatever Greek, He said that Jesus is saying to them, this is my last will. He's not telling them that this is the blood of the covenant. And if he's not talking about covenant, therefore, there is no sacrifice. Because biblically, whenever you talk about covenant, you mean sacrifice. Okay? Covenant is made in blood. That says sacrifice. So Luther said, Jesus was just telling them, is my last will to you, my last testament. Okay? My last will to you. So Mass is not a sacrifice. And because Mass is not a sacrifice, therefore we don't need priests. Because they are offering nothing. Why? Because Jesus Christ offered himself once and for all. So we cannot say that we are offering him over and over and over again, but the way that the charge, the Protestants basically claim against us, that we think that we sacrifice Jesus all the time by our masses. Okay, because we say we are offering sacrifice, when the letter of the Hebrews is clear that he offered himself once and for all. So how do you answer that? Because at every Mass we say that we are offering sacrifice. But Jesus offered himself once and for all, according to the letter to the Hebrews. So Catholics, what do you do when you do Mass, when you celebrate Mass? You are misguided. According to Luther, you are misguided. You don't understand the scriptures. Because the scriptures are clear, offered himself once and for all. So, if you offer, what are you offering? Do you mean that the sacrifice Christ offered was incomplete? So why do you offer Masses and call them sacrifices? Yeah, he meant his will. That's how Luther would answer it. That's how most Protestants would say. So they will gather and simply commemorate, okay, and simply remember the symbols, but there is no reality of sacrifice. Okay, so the answer is this, okay? And of course the thing is, what we are saying is that if Jesus Christ wanted us to offer sacrifice, he would have given us something bloody and so on and so forth. So we have to understand the connection between, now these are days we give them names, okay? Biblically it's not called Holy Thursday. But we know what we mean by Holy Thursday. Number 2 is and number 3 is Mass, or the Eucharist. We answer Luther by connecting the 3. By the understanding of the 3. So what did Jesus do on Holy Thursday? What he did on Holy Thursday explains what we do at Mass. So on Holy Thursday, what did Jesus do? He offered himself. Okay? And what did he offer him? The priest, the lamb is the same. That is, so Good Friday on the cross, the priest is the same. Okay? So at Mass, is the same. So that is the connection we are going to explain. So on Holy Thursday, okay, Jesus truly offers himself as a lamb of sacrifice to God, which is about to be immolated on the cross on Good Friday. But what is being offered on Holy Thursday is the same priest who offers and the same lamb that is offered that is going to be immolated on Good Friday, not different. The same priest. So one cannot say that on Holy Thursday Jesus didn't offer, because he offered himself to his Father on Holy Thursday. But the way he offered was not bloody. There was no blood shed. Okay, he offered himself in anticipation of what was going to happen on Good Friday. So what was offered on Holy Thursday in an unblooded way, okay, because God has the power, okay, to do whatever he wills. That's how he willed it, to offer himself in an unblooded way on Holy Thursday. Actually now, space and time, the Lamb himself, the same Lamb, the same priest, is now offering on the cross in a blooded way. Okay, this is unbloody. There's blood there shed. Okay, but on Holy Thursday he told them to do this. Okay, to do this. And the word in English is do this in memory or remembrance of me. But I think you remember how we explained that remembrance. Okay? In theology, it's not simply remembering something in the past. Every sacrament has these three dimensions. Okay, this is the because that word is very confusing. Sometimes you may think, well, Protestants are right, they say remembrance. And then number 15. Okay, so that one means all these three. The commemorative dimension, that what Jesus did happened in space and time. Historically, he told them to do this in memory of me. What he did, okay, is actually happening as we celebrate Mass. Okay, so he offered it in an unblooded way, the lamb in anticipation of Good Friday, and then what we offer at Mass is the bloody same lamb and the priest immolated on the cross in an unblooded way, because he told us to do what he did. Okay? So that's exactly happening in the here and now. So the Eucharist has this demonstrative dimension. Actually, what he did is being done by him. He is offering himself to the Father, and of course, the theology is why we offer him, and through him and with him, he offers us to the Father. Okay? But that's for another time. But this is happening right now, and all this happened, and it is happening for our salvation in the heavenly kingdom. The last things, the eschaton. The last things, the heavenly kingdom. So every sacrament has all those three dimensions, but more so the Eucharist. Okay? So when we say do this in memory of me, we not only mean commemorative, okay? We mean also the demonstrative that is happening here, and it's leading to what will happen in the future when all is in all. So, the same unblooded sacrifice Jesus offered on Holy Thursday is the same unblooded sacrifice he told us to offer in Mass or at Mass. Okay? This was in anticipation. This is after the bloody sacrifice. But it is by his command. And if he commands, it is true, because he had already offered in an unblooded way. So he can offer in an unblooded way. That's not impossible for God. He did it, and he told us to do it. Okay. So on Holy Thursday, Jesus did, we may say, three things. Number one, he instituted the Eucharist. Okay, Okay, but we call this is body and blood, soul and divinity, his incarnate presence. Number 2, the priesthood. Okay. And number 3, basically, we may call it the instituted or instructed, the Eucharist as the new covenant. Just imagine this, okay? What do we become in baptism? In baptism, we become 3 things. Number 1 is we share the priesthood of just priest. Number 2, prophet. And number 3, king or shepherd. So we share, that's what with this we call the general priesthood of all the baptized. So we share in the priesthood of Jesus Christ. So if we share in his priesthood, it means that we are priests, right? And if we are priests, we offer. But what do we offer? How can we be priests without any sacrifice to offer? If we have no sacrifice to offer, our priesthood is in vain. Okay, so every baptized Catholic, okay, can go to Mass. And that's why I tell you stop using words, I'm going to do Mass. Okay, we are going to offer Mass because we are priests. By the mere fact that you participate, your priesthood, the general priesthood of all the baptized, makes you able to participate in the sacrifice of the Mass. If you are not a priest, you cannot offer. That's why if you come with a non-baptized person at Mass, they are attending. They can't offer because they are not priests. Because they are not baptized, therefore they don't share in the priesthood of Jesus Christ. So if we are priests, Christ cannot make us priests without giving us a sacrifice to offer, an offering. Okay? So indeed at Mass we offer. Okay? And it is the same priest and the same lamb with whom we offer. So it's not simply a simple commemoration, but it's right there. So Luther rejected the priesthood because according to his understanding, reading the Latin text, he understood covenant as a will, to bequeath something to someone, but not really telling them to offer sacrifice, because there is no sacrifice according to him. The sacrifice was offered once and for all. Okay? But according again, if you just follow human logic, so if Jesus had offered himself on Holy Thursday, why did he have to do it again on Good Friday? It's the same priest, the same lamb. It's an eternal sacrifice, okay? And we can simply break into it, okay, and offer it. Okay. So that's what Luther's thinking was at the time. Okay, let's take a break.